92.3. Rock you. Rock you.
Does it not rock hard?
Rock you.
KOMP 92.3, the rock station. It's Sylvia, and on the phone I have with me is Josh Klinghoffer of Pearl Jam, of Plur-Alone. Lots of stuff to get into, but first off, how are you, my friend? How is Matt? How's Jeff? Is everyone okay for the most part?
I think so, yeah, for the most part. I mean, everyone's crestfallen and heartbroken that the show had to be canceled or postponed or whatever it is. That we're not there. But everyone's doing okay. I think Matt is kind of done with it. He was actually, I believe, going to be rejoining us in Vegas.
Oh no!
Double heartbreak. But Jeff, I was messaging with today, and he's on the other side of it as well.
Okay.
And he's doing a lot better.
Well, that's good. And you guys, like you said, were originally set to perform today at the MGM Grand Garden Arena, but as we all learned on Wednesday, both shows in Sacramento and Vegas were canceled. But prior to this, how was the tour going for you guys?
Well, it was crazy, just in the sense that to have begun 2 years late, as Eddie kept saying on stage, we were 25 months late from our original scheduled dates on this tour, and then 4 shows in, and 4 great shows in, I have to say. Matt picked it up somewhere and was sidelined and left behind in Phoenix, and that was a shock. We're all so careful and so conscious of what's still out there, what's still causing problems, and to have it penetrate our little bubble was such a disappointment and a shock. And then for it to happen twice, and then we sort of felt, again, as Eddie would say on stage, after 25 months, canceling wasn't an option. So we improvised with trying to fill in for Matt, which is impossible. You can't fill Matt Cameron's shoes at all. But we made it through a couple shows, and then when Jeff went down, it was just too much. People were spiritually exhausted at that point after having to leave a brother behind.
Of course, and I have to imagine just scrambling to see who is going to fill in. That's got to be exhausting too.
Yeah,
and making sure.
Luckily, I started my musical journey on the drums when I was a kid, and also very luckily, I knew all those songs, particularly the early songs, like the back of my hand. So I filled in a bit. I did a little bit of drumming, and also luckily we were flying into the Bay Area, and Richard Stuverud, is a Seattle guy, but he has long history with Jeff. They have, I think, 3 side projects together, and they've just known each other for years. He lives in Oakland, so he was able to come in and do a little playing. And then the third night in Fresno, it was amazing to watch Dave Cruzen play with the band. And I don't think he's played with them since the early days, apart from the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, where he did one song. Yeah. So that was a treat for me, and I'm sure everyone else in that room.
Yeah.
And I know it was a treat for the guys. Like the band, they hadn't really got to connect with him like that since over 30 years. So they were planning on doing it again in Sacramento, and that didn't happen. So yeah, there's just a lot of ups and downs.
So now during the tour, like you said, Matt Cameron was the first to test positive for COVID. You filled in for drums, and then your band Plur-Alone was set to open. What is it like to not only play for a band like Pearl Jam, where I've read you were a fan of them since you were a kid, but to be like, oh, you guys need a drummer? I got you. But to also open up for them, I mean, all of that has got to be a trip. What's been your experience?
Well, it's there was something that was sort of counterbalancing about opening the shows as well, because when Matt went down and there was a scramble to figure out what songs to play and to do some drumming, I didn't have too much time to think about my own opening set.
Okay.
So I found 2 of those shows to be really freeing, and I was just sort of like, okay, well, it's just all bets are off now. So I was just actually quite free during my performance to have fun, because my mind was sort of elsewhere.
For Pearl Jam.
Yeah, and but honestly, the opening slot, which is actually just myself,
Yeah.
I am alone up there. For the most part, actually, I've been really lucky to have Stone Gossard join me for a song, and Jeff Ament will join me here and there. So I'm not always alone up there, but for the most part, I'm playing by myself, which was at the beginning of the tour very nerve-wracking for me. But I quickly sort of fell into a rhythm, I think, and I was enjoying it. Before this tour, I had only performed by myself once, and that was at the Ohana Festival last September. So my experience doing this is all rather new and pretty kind of exciting to put it mildly, but it's also very nerve-wracking at times when you're a little underprepared with this or that, because it's just been nonstop working with Pearl Jam, or before that doing Eddie's solo tour and finishing this recent album I put out. So it's kind of full on lately, but I never for a second am I complaining about that. I sort of wouldn't have it any other way.
No, of course. So when you started Plur-Alone, have you ever performed in front of an audience, as big as Pearl Jam, or is this like your first time ever?
Yeah, it's my first time ever, because that project and that name was born in late 2019. When I was still playing with the Chili Peppers. So the first album came out in November of that year, of 2019. And then I think, November 2019, so I was about to go on tour with Pearl Jam at that point, but then the pandemic began. So there was no playing live.
That's right,
and at the time, as I say, I was in the Chili Peppers, so it was something of a side band, a side project, and it's never been a band. It's actually just been me. I hadn't had the opportunity to perform live, except for that one at the Ohana Festival. So it's all new, and it's all just beginning.
So talking to Josh Klinghoffer, multi-instrumentalist of Plur-Alone and Pearl Jam, and also, I read, the youngest inductee of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame with Red Hot Chili Peppers. You beat Stevie Wonder.
I know, which is, I don't feel proud of that, really. There's no way that Stevie and I should be mentioned in the same sentence.
So speaking of Plur-Alone, you recently released This Is the Show, your new album, back in March. Heard the song Offend, loved it. Also saw the music video, loved it. And it's because, to me, it kind of was like life imitating art in the video, because you're playing drums next to yourself, singing and playing the guitar, like you're omnipresent, which is kind of like what's happening in real life.
Yeah, and well, when I came up with the name for this project, it was about 10 years ago, or a little bit more, and I was trying to come up with names for this other group I had called Dot Hacker, and I had come up with the name Pluralone, and in the way that 90s groups would sort of smash two words together, that was how I always said it, Pluralone, because it's I had this high-minded.
Yep.
I had this high-minded concept about it, but then the fact that alone really stands out to the eye. You can't help it.
I know, I can't.
The fact that you say it like that, it's never been a problem for me when I'm fascinated by the fact that the alone sticks out far more than
plural one.
The other two words. Yeah. Well, but then this is like sort of a high school party, pass the joint around.
Yeah.
But it's sort of like, to me, it was those words all together, plural and one and alone. They all sort of point at the same concept or
same meaning. Yep.
And that's why, even though I'm still not sold on the name being the greatest thing ever conceived, I do like it from a conceptual standpoint. And there's more than one way of saying it. There's a plurality of ways to say it.
It works. I mean, do you want me to say plural one or Plur-Alone?
I honestly don't mind, whichever you prefer. I say plural one.
Okay.
But again, there's a plurality of ways to say the one name.
All right. Well, I learned something.
Yeah. No. I mean, it's really up to you. You're comfortable with.
All right. So can you talk about the story behind the album? Like, what are the themes? I know you worked again with your Dot Hacker bandmate Clint Walsh. How did this album come to be?
Well, it originally started out as a pandemic-era Dot Hacker album. We, the four of us hadn't done anything in a while, and we sort of we were thrown together to do a song for a friend of ours who had gotten seriously injured, and we collaborated on this one song sort of for him, and we had a good time doing it. We talked about doing another song. We did another song. We put that out, and then it was sort of like, all right, well, let's just keep going. And then, I don't know, maybe it was a little harder to do a whole album than do the one or two songs during 2020 into 2021. We were all in different locations. No one was in the same room. So it became more of a solo effort. But Clint and I had a lot of fun kind of doing those few songs together. So we just kept on going and plowed through. And I had written a bunch of stuff in a hurry, kind of excited on the initial excitement about Scott Hacker doing the thing. And then I kind of threw it all Clint's way and said, "Here you go." That was sort of the method we had kind of come up with on how to work. And I was free then to go work on a couple other projects with the Eddie solo album, doing stuff with Andrew Watt here in LA, and Clint was at home, kind of working hard all year basically, and then we sort of joined forces again at the end of the year, and he had basically produced the album on his own with the songs I had given him. So it was this wonderful collaboration that we had in a way that we had never worked and never dreamed we would work, and we had a great time doing it. But I mean, I think thematically the songs are kind of about the same things I'm always writing about, which is sort of like the inability for people to communicate with themselves or the world at large. And, I think at this particular time in my life, and then the timing actually wound up being a little too apropos, but, thinking about, I was thinking a lot about the Cold War and just how ridiculous that is, and how I'd read a book about it, and I was thinking how crazy it is that we tend to forget that we're always living under this threat of destruction. If people don't learn how to communicate better, then obviously the political climate that we find ourselves in here in this country, that seems to be getting nothing but worse. So, I'm just kind of thinking a lot about how ridiculous it is these days that human beings seem to get further and further apart from each other, and there's these massive chasms and this distance between us when we sort of have everything at our fingertips to be able to communicate better. So it's insane to me in 2022 that we're still living with these fears and these problems, and you can kind of shrink it down to a marriage or a couple or political parties or superpowers. It's all the same thing. And if human beings don't learn how to communicate and be giving and kind to each other, then we are a word I can't say on the air.
Or sort of destroying ourselves.
Yeah. We seem to not want to do anything about it.
Yeah. I'll censor for you.
Yeah. Well, I'll let it live in the mind.
Yeah. You're also part of the soundtrack for the FX series Under the Banner of Heaven. Like I said, omnipresent. You're just doing everything. For this, did you have to watch the series, or do they tell you what it's about? Like, just to give you an idea of what to create?
Well, we knew what it was about in the sense that it was based off of a book, a John Krakauer book, which Jeff Ament, who was the first to sort of land the gig or speak with the showrunner, Lance Black. They had these great conversations about what the show was about. But Jeff had already read the book. I read it the minute he brought up doing the music for it to me. So we knew what it was about. We knew what the story was about. We knew what the themes were that the people making a show out of the book wanted to communicate. And it really resonated with Jeff, really resonates with me. So for my first real scoring, my first foray into the world of scoring, for it to be about this kind of a subject matter, I couldn't have asked for anything more. And that's a long way of answering one part of the question, but the other part of the question was just because of the pandemic, perhaps, or just the production and where they were, we didn't actually see a lot when we began. And the great thing about it was we had Jeff had sort of come up with a concept that he really wanted to follow, and it spoke to me, beautifully. Like, it's exactly what I would want to do if if you showed me a space and said, how would you want to work in this space? And it was really about using the space that we were in to record. So, we just kind of went. We were off and running, and we recorded tons of music. And then once we started getting images, we started fitting things to that. And then then there was more communication between, us, or mostly Jeff and the production. But, I think it was I think we were a bit spoiled in the sense that we were given sort of free reign for a while, and I think it helped shape the mood of the show a bit. And the one thing I'll say about the show is that I didn't really get to see much of the show while we were working on the music. And when we finally saw a few episodes, when it premiered a few weeks ago, I was blown away with how well they executed their ideas and how good of a show it is, in my opinion. I'm so honored to be a part of a good show, let alone a good show about what it's about, but it's just a good show.
I'm talking to Josh Klinghoffer of Pearl Jam of Pluralone, new album.
Plur-Alone might have a better ring.
You're welcome. So new
Probably
album.
Just your voice. You're a professional. You have a wonderful voice.
Oh, thank you. New album, This Is the Show, is out now, so definitely give that a listen. Going back to touring with Pearl Jam, you guys had an 18-year-old student on drums to play Mind Your Manners, which he absolutely killed it. I think he's a drummer for a band of his own.
I think so, and I think they're called The Alive, and I didn't know that was the connection, but I was seeing these stickers around all day earlier in the day called The Alive, and I thought, that's a good name.
So he was able to learn it quick. Is there anything or anyone that told him to maybe calm him down, hey, you're going to go in front of a buttload of people. He's like, this is what you have to do, or this is what you got to think about, or how did you maybe calm his nerves if he was nervous?
Well, I actually tried to make a joke that didn't land because, I think he knew the song pretty well. He's a fan, and he had it down pretty well when he came in and did a few run-throughs with the band beforehand. And I said to him, well, this rehearsal kit might feel funny, but don't worry. When you get up on stage, it'll feel very normal. It'll feel exactly as it always does playing drums, which couldn't be further from the truth, but I'm not sure if my ironic tone landed.
Maybe the delivery.
Drums, but the delivery was, it was pretty dry. So playing drums in an arena is not very standard. And if you're not used to that, it's one of the weirdest experiences, for a drummer or for a musician at all. But he did great. Yeah, I'm glad he didn't listen to my stupid show.
And also funny to note that I heard that he had skipped a class or he skipped a test to do this, which got me wondering.
He goes to school at 9:00 at night?
No, well, something to record, to rehearse with you guys.
Oh, okay.
I don't think he goes to school at 9. I'm sorry?
Oh, yeah. Maybe I said he was down there right before we played. Oh. He could have been to school that day and still made the show.
Well, I think something happened. But what the thing was, the thing is, it got me thinking, what was something or is something that you would skip a class for? Or anything for?
I skipped 2 years of classes.
Did you?
I didn't quite get to the finish line there. So, I used to ditch class and just read Mother Love Bone liner notes.
Oh, that's awesome.
And Temple of the Dove, and practice my handwriting, which still to this day I'd say is heavily influenced by Jeff Ament.
Because my thing would be, and this is, I think, the most badass thing that I've probably ever done was skip a journalism class to go meet Chris Cornell, because he was in our lobby playing with Ben Shepherd.
What, the two of them were just playing?
They were playing
in your lobby?
Yeah, we would have acoustic performances in our lobby, and we would have a really intimate setting, a couple of listeners and their guests. And then one year, and this, I think it was back in 2012, Ben Shepherd and Chris Cornell came into the studio and they played some acoustic songs. We couldn't record it, sadly, but I have a picture and it looked like a ding dong. But that's kind of why I skipped journalism class.
Oh my goodness! Well, I'd love to see the picture.
I will. I'll send it to you.
We'll get it off air. We'll figure it out. I want to see that.
Oh, thank you so much, Josh, for taking the time to talk to me. I'm super bummed that Vegas will be missing Pearl Jam because I was going to go and it would be my first time seeing Pearl Jam. But we're wishing Matt and Jeff a speedy recovery. And we hope that you guys will come back to Vegas soon because I think it's been a minute. And congratulations on your album. This is the show. And we will hopefully see you very, very soon.
Thank you. Yeah, I do too. And I hope they swing back around too. And it's a brand new arena, more or less. So, go check it out.
KOMP 92.3. Rock you. Rock you.
Does it not rock hard?
Rock you.